Today we're talking about the border adjustment tax, and our article is called Paul Ryan May Do an About-Face on the Border Adjustment Tax Amid GOP Infighting. GOP, by the way, stands for Grand Old Party, which is what the Republicans have always called themselves. Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House and a Republican, may drop the border adjustment tax to allow the Republican tax proposal to go forward. The border adjustment tax was conceived as a revenue-type tariff, and if you remember from our class discussion, revenue-type tariffs occur when the government's trying to raise revenue from the tariff, but they're really not trying to protect industries because there aren't necessarily any American industries in the field. So there are some fields where this border adjustment tax would apply where there are American firms. But the reason I say it's a revenue type tariff is because it's across the board. The purpose here, as we'll see later in the discussion, is to offset tax cuts that are being thought of in the new tax plan, and the border adjustment tariff was going to be a tax increase to offset that without regard to whether an industry had new American businesses or not in it. The border adjustment tax, or BAT, is a tax on all imported items entering the United States. Again, there is no tax now. This proposal is to create such a tax. Opponents, many of them Republicans, say that domestic consumers, that's us, will pay this tariff when they shop at Walmart because, for example, Walmart sells a lot of imports. Thus, U.S. consumers will pay for U.S. income tax cuts. What some people might say here then is all consumers might pay for wealthy individuals in the United States to get income tax cuts. The House will now work with the Senate to replace the border adjustment tax with some other way to offset those income tax cuts. And so cuts to government services are one idea being discussed. Another idea being discussed is something called a corporate integration tax plan, which basically means there will be increased taxes when shareholders receive dividends. Already, there's a dividend tax when shareholders receive dividends, but this either might be a broader tax hitting more folks who receive a dividend, or the tax itself might increase. That's not clear. Paul Ryan didn't mention the border adjustment tax, or BAT, at the National Association of Manufacturers. Many political watchers think this is the kind of thing that demonstrates that Ryan is going to back off of this border adjustment tax. Paul Ryan has said himself that the border adjustment tax is not viable in its current form. The question that analysts ask then is, does this mean that the tax could be tweaked? Does it mean it could be shelved altogether? An important thing to recognize is that although this is the kind of thing that Donald Trump talked about during his political campaign last year, the idea of an across-the-board tax on all imports coming into the United States is really a new thing that hasn't been discussed before, and certainly would have broad international tax applications. One issue would be, would other countries retaliate? Take care.